In the stillness of our hearts, God is loving us. In the stillness of our hearts, God is loving us. Whispering His love into our hearts, showering with grace so we may start, inviting in a move within.
Hello everyone, I'm Veronica Murphy, a member of the Diocesan Pastoral Formation Department. I'm delighted to introduce the first of two short videos designed to help us all to grow in our understanding of discernment as we continue our journey to Synod 2020. Special thanks to Fr Richard Sloane for leading us in this, and to the Sisters of Notre Dame here in Parbold for providing this lovely setting for our first film, and also for their continued prayer for Synod 2020.
Over the past months, we've been working together through the first phase of preparation for Synod 2020. We've engaged in an experience of deep listening to one another in small groups at every level of our diocesan life. From the feedback received, the Synod Office has heard how valuable people had found the listening process. It's been an overwhelmingly positive experience, with many reported examples of how it's already helped transform parishes, individuals, and families. That's cause for great joy and gratitude. Our task now is to turn our attention to the process of discernment. There will be decisions that have to be made. And decision-making is based on a commitment to listen to God, to self, and to others. Discernment flows from the deep listening we've been practicing. And so in the weeks ahead, we will be gathering once again in our parishes and communities, precisely to discern our response to each of the four themes and to make our proposals for the Synod. We will be looking later on at the practice, the methodology, if you like, of group discernment. Today, I want to simply focus on some of the principles underlying any discernment, be it group or individual. First of all, disposition is important. The foundation and principle needed for good discernment is to know that we are held in love, to be in touch with God's love and care for us, that God is for us. We can take encouragement from what a theologian to both Popes Paul VI and John Paul II describes as God's adamant unwillingness to leave us to our worst selves. To hold this basic disposition is fundamental so that we can more easily let go of any fear and insecurity. We then have a better chance of trusting, of listening, and arriving at the best possible decisions. Our Lady offers us a beautiful model for this process. And we might just take a moment to look at these images of the Annunciation.
In open hearts the Spirit enters in, transforming us with love we feel within, revealed to us, healing us.
The Gospel text tells us that Mary was deeply disturbed by what was being asked of her. Imagine her mind in turmoil, her guts churning. And then she hears, "Mary, do not be afraid. You have won God's favor." Being immersed in God's love and favor, she could now breathe freely and from a place of equanimity rise to the challenge and offer her, "Yes, let what you've said be done to me." So the first fundamental insight and disposition is for us to reflect on the unconditional love of God. Without that first awareness and belief, it's difficult enough to make any headway. The commitment to God's unconditional love is the powerful basis for all our growing and all our transformation. The great legacy that St. Ignatius left to the Church is around discernment, and as I understand him, he says that we need to approach discernment from a place of balance, of equilibrium. His word for this is indifference, but by that he doesn't mean a couldn't care less attitude, oh, whatever. Rather, it's a place of psychological balance, a place of openness inside ourselves, not a knee-jerk reactivity. It's an attitude of inner freedom. Also, in order to have the right disposition for making any important decision, awareness is key. As the great Saint Teresa of Avila said, "Eat the bread of self-awareness every day." So as we enter into this next phase of our synod journey, to enter into a free and honest discernment, some questions might help. How well do I know myself? Do I know what gives me life? And can I recognize that which deadens me? It's being able to notice, when do I feel most alive? When am I at peace, being my best self? What brings an increase in faith, in hope, in love? And then, on the other hand, when do I feel inroads of destructiveness within me, negative attitudes? What drains the life out of me? When am I drawn, and when am I driven? All of this requires honesty and generosity of spirit. Do I know myself well enough to recognize when I'm acting out of my reactive self or my creative self? Notice how the only difference between the words creative and reactive is where you place the letter C. So without being too corny about it, are we open to a sea change within us as we engage in the process of discerning the movements of the Spirit in the themes and proposals of the Synod? And notice also how our bodies offer us important information and clues for discernment. As we listen to one another, pay attention to the movements within you. Does a proposed decision lead to a bracing posture, an inner constriction, deeply disturbed by these words? Or an opening up, an expansiveness, a conscious surrendering? Let it be. Can I be honest enough to recognize when I might be pushing a rigidly held agenda and so effectively closing the ears of my heart to those with ideas that differ from my own? Am I willing to let go of personal agendas? It might cost me, as together we seek what is most creative, that which will bring us greater freedom to become the church we're called to be in the love and service of others. And it goes without saying that discernment is a prayerful activity. Throughout the discernment process, St. Ignatius bids us trust that God does not leave us to our own devices. He invites us to ask for the help of the Holy Spirit, to discover God's hopes and dreams for us. And that, of course, includes God's hopes and dreams for us here and now in the concrete situations and challenges that face us in the Archdiocese of Liverpool. In his writing on discernment and right disposition, Jesuit Father Jerry O'Hanlon emphasizes the need to pray, to ask in particular for freedom from all bias and self-delusion, not to mention social and cultural pressures, for an honest recognition of the bias of our natural and sinful self-interest, and a recognition of our resistance to the concerns and voices of others, our capacity for self-deception, our rigidities and compulsions. For the more self-aware we are and open to others, the more likely we are to make good decisions and, above all, be open to what Pope Francis has called the God of surprises.